So it's Sunday, and I thought we'd have a little bit of fun today restoring a GameCube that was probably on its way to the dumpster. Now, there are broken systems all over eBay, and a lot of times people will buy more current systems, but I thought since I haven't really worked on a ton of GameCubes since when I really started working on systems, we were up to like the 360, PS3 era. Occasionally I would see PS2s, but like GameCubes, I really wouldn't see too often. However, they have been going up more and more in value, and I thought it would be interesting to take one apart, fix it, and then put it back together with a special casing that I managed to find online a little while ago, and I thought this would be a good spot to use it. So I went ahead and grabbed one, and it's off of eBay, of course. I have not looked at it yet, and I thought we would just have some fun seeing if we can get it to work and look pretty good when it's all done. Oh, also, if you enjoy some of these like restoring videos, let me know down in the comments and like the video before you head out. Well, at least they packaged it pretty well. A lot of bubble wrap around it, plenty of paper, which is good news. Even though the system doesn't work, I'd like it to at least show up in the condition that they left their house in. All right, so they packaged it pretty well, I must say. Overall, looking at it, it's scuffed up, it's kind of dirty around the edges, but it's not like chipped or broken or damaged in that way, which is nice. Like, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to. Okay, this is kind of sticky. Yeah, so like we obviously have a sticky. These get sticky a lot though, they're pretty easy to clean. Now, oh, that feels weird. So from what I was told with the description, it does not read games at all. It still has all the doors on the bottom, which is nice. Like that's all there. I think you could probably just clean this casing up really well and use it. But I have, like I said, a different casing in mind for it that I'm gonna change it out with. But I might save this casing, and we could even maybe like sand it down and do like try to paint it or something for a future project. We do have a chip right here though. That is on the bottom part of the casing, however, but the top part seems okay. Okay, so a quick test. We can actually just pop a disc in. I have 007 Agent Under Fire, and just see if it even spins the disc up or tries to read it. Turns on, and it's not even spinning the disc even a little bit. Yeah, so that's interesting. I wonder why it's not even spinning. Usually it'll at least spin the disc, but it's not even doing that. I know there's like a sensor that has to be pressed down when you close it. I almost wonder if it's just not even pressing that. Yeah, it's not even trying, so that's the first step, obviously, is to get the disc spinning and see if we can get it working from there. Now, I did also get a brand new laser, and if it ends up having to come to it, we'll just change the laser out with a brand new one, so we'll have a nice fresh laser inside. But the GameCube itself is pretty easy to get apart. There's not like a ton of pieces to get the lid off. It's just getting to like the motherboard and other parts can be a bit of a pain because there are so many screws to go through. Now, of course, you'll want a game bit driver because Nintendo decided to use these weird screws for it. They, of course, couldn't go with like, you know, just regular Phillips head screws, although I guess Microsoft used Torx drivers for theirs. Sony was the only normal one who used Phillips head screws. All right, there we go. It only takes 4 screws to get the top lid off, which is, again, nice to get inside pretty fast. So the way this works is when you close the lid on your GameCube, the system needs to know that it's closed, and we have sensors right back here that run to the drive, and when these get pressed down, the laser will start to activate knowing that the lid has been closed. So if we plug it in and just press these down, we should see some sort of action here by this laser. Okay, so it's on, it thinks the door is open currently. So we do get some action from the laser. You can see it kind of moving right here, attempting to read and focus, but nothing seems to happen from there. Let me grab, like you can usually see some sort of kind of reddish light coming out of it. So unfortunately, we're not getting anything reading from the laser itself. And I guess the next step, we'll start pulling this apart and looking inside of it. Like I said, I have a brand new laser if we have to change it out, but there is a chance that there's something else wrong with it. Now, something I'm noticing here is that there is quite a bit of rust. It appears to almost be from liquid inside. So we'll have to keep that in mind as we go a bit further down. We got to check out the board and all of that to see if we have an issue that might even be causing it not to read. Well, it looks like there is some corrosion down here on the board itself, and that does lead to the drive. So there is a chance that that is the major issue right there that's causing it not to read. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull this board out and attempt to scrub away that corrosion and see if we can get it working. Yeah, I think it's fair to say there may have been some liquid damage in this GameCube. Oh man, it definitely got the business from something. I don't know what they spilled into it, but hey, I'll give this GameCube credit. It's still powered on. These things are tanks, but I mean, nothing's invincible, right? So let's clean this up here and see if the laser starts to read maybe. So I managed to clean up the board pretty well, especially around where the drive plugs in. The bottom casing is like rusted like crazy, right? Like that's pretty ugly. So what I can probably do is either try to sand down some of the rust here with like a Dremel, or I can end up trying to find maybe a different metal plate for the bottom. For now, I'm gonna use it because it shouldn't really do much to this since it's completely dry, and I wiped it down to get rid of any extra, I guess, moisture or anything that would be on it. But I will look for a separate case. I'm just gonna use it temporarily as a way to kind of screw this board in and test it. All right, let's see what happens now. I don't have the front board plugged in, so we shouldn't have any light there. So we're still not getting anything from it. I'm gonna open up the laser now to see if there's anything inside of that could be causing issues. Also, it does look like our laser may have been hit with some liquid as well. So we might as well open this up to see how bad it is. And if it really is that bad, maybe we'll just change the laser out then. So the board definitely received some liquid, but it didn't get on really any of the chips. It kind of started to come through the screw holes. Might be a little bit right here that we can just kind of clean off. But for the most part, it's not as bad, at least on this part, as I thought it would be, but it also was sealed up with like metal over it and all that. So that makes some sense, but we can check out the laser to see if that has any type of like rusting or anything on it. So it actually looks like the motor here that's supposed to move the laser, yeah, it looks like it caught quite a bit of liquid damage. It's like completely rusted on the bottom here. So we'll have to see. I think I might have an extra motor. I know I have another laser, but this honestly might be the main issue right here. Okay, so good news. The older GameCube that I had, the silver one that I changed out with the SD card, I did keep its assembly. So I have most of the parts here, which is good. From what I remember though, the laser in this one was a little rough. So I'm still gonna go ahead and change this laser out, but this should have a full assembly. And just holding on to this, by the way, I can tell immediately that it's a bit different than this one here, which has seemingly seized up. So to me, it does appear that this is the main issue right there. But while I have this assembly here, I may as well just go ahead and use this one and just change the laser out. Now, believe it or not, this is actually the first time I've changed a laser out in a GameCube. I've changed these assemblies out, but actually going down into the assembly and changing out the laser is kind of strange. Like I said, I've never done it before, so this should be fun. Now, the good news about these is typically lasers will work the same way across most devices. Usually you'll have one railing where it slides into place. So this side is open, you can pretty much take it out that way. And then you have one bar going along here where it actually wraps around, and you would need to remove it starting from this side. And usually there's like an arm that screws into it that's plastic with some teeth so that it can be guided by the motor. So it looks like this is the side I would have to unscrew in order to get this laser to come out. Yeah, so it popped right out very, very easily. We'll take this railing and save that. And it looks like we do indeed have this plastic here, although it's a bit different. It looks like it has a spring right here that wraps around, so that might be a little harder than just having a screw that goes in. That actually wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It kind of clips around. We have a spring here, and it essentially keeps tension on it, so this can move if it needs to. It's definitely an interesting design compared to what I'm used to with other lasers. Usually it'll screw in, it'll just be in place. This has a little bit of give to it. So I think this would be a bit more sturdy. That could be because the laser was right there and they're worried someone might accidentally press on it, or of course the whole tray gets pressed down when you pop the disc out. That might just be why it's kind of in this setup. So it's kind of like this floating design. It can pretty much move if it needs to, as the drive does. Okay, we just slid it back into place. A couple of screws and I think we're good. We've replaced the laser at that point with a new one. I'll have to put the board in. We have to solder these two wires in for the motor. Otherwise, though, I think we're good to test it after that. So I put it back together just enough so we can drop a game on here and try it out. I did also plug a controller in because I figure we'll go ahead and check it out here, kind of to see if it'll actually read the game. Okay, so we do have a picture here. We'll try 007 again, and of course we can pop it on here, and we can press the sensors down, and we should hopefully see this thing do something. Remember before we just saw the laser try to focus over here and that was it? But after changing out all of the parts and seeing the laser move freely, we should at least get the disc to spin, and we'll see what happens from there. So here we go. So we can see the laser. Disc is starting to spin. That's a good sign. It's also moving. And let's go up here. Ah, there's 007. All right, see, that seemed to read pretty quick. Hold on, let's try this again. So we just ejected the disc. We'll pop it back down. We'll see how long this takes to read. And there it goes. That's pretty good. I'd say that's pretty fast. The laser that we put in there definitely is working well. And it starts right up there. All right, so far so good for the laser itself. Let's try one other game just to make sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and eject this guy. We can even press the little reset button there. And I guess we'll try, I have Prince of Persia here, the first one, Sands of Time. So let's go ahead and try this one out. We'll press this guy down, start reading, and there we go, Prince of Persia. Okay, so all those pieces in there, I had to clean the board up pretty good because there was a lot of corrosion around it. Different motor inside, and I also, like I said, replaced the laser with a new one just to make sure. It seems to be working well now, which is great news. But there's still one other thing I wanted to do to it, and that has to do with the casing itself. So, of course, we got it with the silver case. It was kind of chipped up on the side, scuffed up here and there. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be based on the pictures, but I figure instead of putting it back together in this boring shell, why not do something a little different? And that is where this casing comes in. This is the official Starlight GameCube case. It was released in Japan, I think by Toys R Us. There weren't that many of these sold. There weren't. I think it was like 5,000 or so. It wasn't that many. And I thought it would be neat to take this casing, which is original, is a legitimate original case, and drop it on here so we can kind of complete the look overall, the restoration from this junky silver chipped up case into this nice Starlight case. Now this case I did grab on eBay, and it was strange to see it pop up just as it was. It's like, oh, just the casing? Because it still has all of the doors on the bottom. It is a legitimate case. Like you can see it has the model and everything here. These only came out in Japan, so this would of course be for the Japan model. It wouldn't play any games in the US, North America, but because we're gonna put a North American board in here, it'll just have this nice Starlight look to it, which is great. Still has both of the rubber feet on the bottom here, still has the ATI sticker on it. It does have some scuffs on the front, but like I said, this is an original casing. It's not like an aftermarket one, so I can expect a little bit of that, and I got it at a pretty good price just for the casing. Now it looks like inside they did have some screws for us. Those game bit screws were still screwed in there. We have plenty of other screws here though, so that's not a big deal. Has the back plastic bit and then also the front, which the front looks really clean by the way, so I'm pretty happy about that. And we also have the memory card doors here. So all I have to do is take the internals from that silver one, we'll drop it in here, and we should have a really nice looking Starlight case when it's all done. Now the only unfortunate thing right now is I don't have any of the metals to replace the insides where it's like has like the rust and all of that. I think what I'll do is I will find some metals and change them out afterwards, but for now I will use those rusted pieces just to put it all together, and then I'll come back when I locate some metal pieces for the inside that match up, because there are different models of the GameCube and those metal pieces don't actually match up. Like I have one for a later model that has that digital port on the back, but those do not seem to work with this one. Anyway, guys, that's gonna do it here for the eBay water-damaged GameCube. It was pretty messed up, yes, but it is technically fixable with enough spare parts, and I did have to put a lot of spare parts into this to get it working. Fortunately, despite that motherboard eating quite a bit of liquid damage, it still works, and that's pretty impressive. But the GameCube itself is a fairly strong system in terms of durability. I mean, they put a handle on it, so they obviously knew it was gonna get beaten up. And I do like the Starlight case. Finding the Starlight controller to complete it is pretty difficult. That alone can be over $100, but getting the case at a pretty good price and finding a project for it was a lot of fun. So I still enjoyed doing this. I just obviously wouldn't recommend anyone to buy an as-is GameCube off of eBay, since this wasn't even advertised to have water damage, just that it wasn't reading any games. So keep that in mind. Thanks guys for watching. Let me know what you think about the newly made Starlight GameCube here. If you guys liked the video on the way out, if you enjoyed it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you next time.